As much as I love our Nigerian parents, I do not appreciate the amount of financial stress they put on themselves in the space of time when they live in the diaspora. Let's talk about it today. A Nigerian parent migrates to the diaspora, US, UK, Canada. They spend their entire life in the diaspora with hopes that one day they would return back to Nigeria. But one day becomes 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, 30 years, 50 years. And then one day it finally hits them that they may never really get to stay or live in Nigeria. But by that time, it is already too late. During the space of time a Nigerian parent or an African parent lives in the diaspora, they spend a good bulk of their income building homes, retirement homes, back home, back in Nigeria, back in Africa. They build these homes because they believe that they are just going to be here for 20 years max, and they go back home. On the flip side, they build these homes out of competition to prove a point that now they are well off and they can afford to build that home. Let's call it what it is, guys. No sugarcoating. The downside of all this, however, is that the reality of every Nigerian parent is that this place you are living in, the diaspora, that is your new normal. This is one fact and truth, if I may add, that they found it the hardest to accept. So now they are living their lives in the diaspora, basically hand to mouth, struggling the whole time, all so that they could afford, or they can afford, the house that they are building.
I tell you guys how our elders are the reason why Nigeria is in shit. It's not just elders in Nigeria. I'm talking about elders in America too. Our parents. Let me give you an example of my parents. My parents took about, I would say, around $100,000 to $200,000 in Nigeria. That's 200 million to build a massive compound in the village, and they live in an apartment here in America. Now, let me explain that to you. Apartment that I helped them get into. My sisters and I, we struggled. Growing up, I didn't come from rich parents. We struggled, and my parents would always find money. Whatever little money we had, they would put it in the village home every time. And my sisters would be like, "Why are you people forcing money there when you guys should be using money here to help your kids? Fix yourself, build your life, something." No, my parents spent the whole entire checks that they would, whatever little money they could get, they would use it to fund building a house in Nigeria as their retirement plan. Do they have retirement money? No. How often do they go to Nigeria? Once a year, and they can only be home for maybe a week because they have to come back to America and work.
You watched that video. You saw how this girl is literally crying out. You know, she's built this wall around herself, and for so long trying to figure it out, you know, with her sister. But you see how African parents can sometimes drive so much of their income, monies, retirement money sometimes, to build a home that they may end up never living in. At most, Nigerian parents may spend 1 month, sometimes 2 weeks, depending on what they do in the diaspora, in the home that they spent millions of naira to build. And then we've watched the Ifunanya story. We saw how literally she had to bring her father back to the States, because the reality of it is that the man cannot survive on his own back home. He didn't have the best of loved ones, so obviously that's not a safe space. Now imagine it, you've lived your entire life in a particular neighborhood, in a particular country, and it is your dream to go back to your home country, and then you go back there just for something bad to happen to you. Let's watch this video.
This is the story of Ifunanya's father, Mr. Peter Mokwa, who worked all his life in the US and retired after 25 years, came back home to the house he built in Anambra State, only for his brother and his wife to do him dirty. Look at him there on the ground. He was Locked up in a room for years, nobody saw him, and his daughter, who was living in the US, hasn't been able to reach her, and then she decided to come to Nigeria. And when she came to Nigeria, what she saw became a story.
This video, it makes me literally want to shed tears. This is a man that worked so hard, all for him to come back to a country with no security. So now he's basically fighting for his life. What of the lady that got killed in, was it Jamaica or so? She had traveled back home after working her entire life in the States, and she had retired back home to her country just for her to get, yeah.
So I just did this story on YouTube. You can go view it for details, but I just want to sound off on it because I can't imagine like this actually happened. Imagine a couple spending 30 years of their life in a faraway land in Switzerland, basically 30 years of their life working, building wealth. They even bought a home in Switzerland. And after the 30 years, they decided to retire. And they're like, you know what, babe, let's go back to Africa. Let's go back to our hometown. Let's go back to our motherland. Let's go back to Uganda, build a house there and spend the rest of our retirement years there. And they do that, build a mansion in Uganda, come home. 2 weeks later, they organize a homecoming party. And that night, they get brutally murdered by their relative. 30 years in Switzerland, you were able to immerse wealth, train your children, give them a good life. And then the one day you decide to come back home to Africa, to your homeland, you get slaughtered. It didn't even last 2 weeks in Africa.
And the pain that the children of these people have to go through, knowing that their parents were unalived just for what? For what, literally? I wish I could explain to the parents, to our Nigerian parents in particular, how deeply I understand that yes, they want to retire home and be home. But sometimes until you're sure of the place you're going to, that may not always be the best idea. And financially, which is even the most important, if you know that you're suffering here in the diaspora, there's no reason why you should be shoveling, I didn't even say channeling, I'll say shoveling money back home to build you a house, a mansion that you barely live in, where you're barely finding it easy to live and comfortably enjoy your life here in the diaspora. I'm going to say it, guys. I have to say it. It's a painful reality that we've come to. I've seen people, I've heard stories, I've watched videos of people going through it. Children literally struggling because every single amount of money their parents can find is going to a house that they may barely live in. I feel like everybody needs to understand, Nigerians and Africans, you need to understand that when you decide to leave your country and go to another country for a better life, you have to understand that that may become your country also. That may become where you end up staying for the rest of your life. You may never get another opportunity to go back, to return back home, to live full time. Many people come from the diaspora to Nigeria for holidays, and they are rushing back home, back, and I say home, back to the US or wherever they are. They are rushing back because they have bills to pay, because these bills do not stop because you went on vacation. They are waiting for you to come back. My advice to anybody that knows that they have a deep sense of, root to where they're coming from, you have to have a plan of where you are. If you don't have a plan of where you are, then you're not going to go back home anytime soon. And that's the honest truth. So if you're just working and making all this money, but you don't have any plan on how to save it, on how to invest it and multiply it well, the 401k at your job that they're even giving you, you're not even using it. let me just break the news to you now. You're not going back home anytime soon, because you will always know that you need to rush back to make money. If you're a Nigerian parent watching this, I know that yes, you want to build a house. You want to build that house. My advice to you is build a house where you know people are going to want to rent that house. Should I say it again? Okay, I will. I said, build a house where you know there are people that are going to want to rent that house. So you building a mansion in a village where nobody is going to go to, it is not financial wisdom. It is not. Matter of fact, it's giving lack of financial literacy. It's screaming it loud. Build a house, build properties. If you really want to invest and you really want to come back to Nigeria at some point to retire and earlier, build houses where you know people are really going to want to rent. Build houses in big cities. So instead of just building a house in your village, build a house in the city of your town and put people in that house. So that by the time you're planning to come back home for retirement, then you have something to live on. Still build a house in your village, but build something modest. Please, you're not going to come back there to live more than 1 month for a good number of years. Your kids are not going to come back anytime soon to live there for a good number of years. So let's be real. Let's call it what it is. Build a modest house. Build something that is not going to break the bank. Something that you can at least rest your head. Can we talk about the insecurities? Meaning that people even come back home and they cannot even sleep in the mansion that they lived in because their village is not safe. Should we go there? The village is not safe. You're scared for your life. So you end up spending your entire vacation in a hotel. This is a sad reality, guys. And I can tell you this, I'm telling everybody, like, please, if you really want to go back, if you really want to retire, then you have to do this. You have to implement this. The children that you think you're building it for, they're not coming. On behalf of them, let me tell you now, they're not coming back anytime soon to come and live in that house for more than 1 month. If they even come to the Nigeria, they'll be going to Lagos or Abuja. It's dirty December for them. They don't want to come and stay in the village for more than 1 month. So why spend all your money, all your hard-earned money on a property that you're not going to even use? You won't do that here in the diaspora. So why do you think it's better to do it back in Nigeria? Why? Guys, a word, they say, is enough for the wise. I hope with these few points of mine, I've been able to convince you and not confuse you. I want you guys to get to enjoy Nigeria. And I want you guys to retire, and I want you all to live, the life that you want and be closer to your roots, because I love Nigeria and I want to go back someday. I want to leave Nigeria longer someday. But for the time being that you are here in the diaspora, make a good plan for yourself. Make a good plan for yourself. So guys, don't forget to subscribe to this channel for more videos like this. We say the truth here, even if it is not always sweet, but I still have to say it because I fear God. So make sure you like, share, subscribe, guys, and I'll see you next time. Thank you. God bless. Bye.